Okay, for 3a, you need to know the right triangle definitions. So that's SOHCAHTOA, knowing what sine, cosine, what those represent as far as triangles are concerned. Now they're going to give you some information, and they're going to give you some information so you know which quadrant it's in, and that's the quadrant you're going to draw the triangle in. For this one, it tells you you're between 180 and 270, which means that we're going to be in the third quadrant. So the first thing I want to do is draw a triangle in the third quadrant. And I'm going to use the definition for cotangent to label this particular triangle. Now I want to know the definition for cotangent. Now cotangent is the adjacent over opposite. And so if I write this as a 5 over 1, adjacent side would be 5, opposite would be a 1. Now that's not correct the way I showed that. The reason why is because don't forget that because you're in the third quadrant, both of those need to be negative. We're talking about a negative x value and a negative y value, so they're both negative. So don't forget to do that. It's very important because that's going to affect your answers when we fill in the blanks here. We need to use Pythagorean Theorem next to figure out the missing side. So we're going to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. In this case, you're solving for c, which is the longest side. It's the side opposite the right angle. So we're going to do negative 1 squared plus negative 5 squared will equal c squared. When you square both of those, you get 1 plus 25. Doing too many steps in my head, jumping ahead too fast there. 1 plus 25 is c squared, and you get 26 as your c squared, and then you're going to get the square root. Now, whenever you take the square root of something, you always get plus or minus. So we have to look at it and know whether we need to put a positive or a negative. Now, one thing is the hypotenuse, regardless of which quadrant you're in, the hypotenuse is always going to be positive. So this we're going to do square root, positive square root of 26. Our triangle is now complete, so we're ready to use the trig definitions to fill in the blanks here. Okay, now cosine. Cosine is equal to the adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent over hypotenuse, negative 5 over square root of 6. Okay, now on the test, if it tells you to rationalize, go ahead and rationalize. If it doesn't say anything about that, you don't have to worry about rationalizing it. So in this case, if the test didn't say anything about rationalizing, you could just leave your answer as the adjacent over hypotenuse, negative 5 over square root of 26. But if you do rationalize it, you can multiply the top and bottom of that fraction by square root of 26 over square root of 26. If you do that, you can rationalize it and get this as the rationalized answer. So that would be negative 5 square root of 26 over 26. For secant, we're going to take the reciprocal of cosine. We'll just use the original version here. We flip that, you get negative square root of 26 over 5, and that would be complete for that one. Next, we want to do sine. Sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. That's negative 1 over the square root of 26. Again, you can leave your answer like that if it doesn't say anything about rationalizing, or if you do rationalize, you'll get negative square root of 26 over 26. Okay? And then if we flip this fraction, flip over the first fraction, we get negative square root of 26 over 1, or just negative square root of 26, and that's the exact value for cosecant. Okay, now we're going to do tangent. Now tangent is just the reciprocal of the original one. So if we just flip that over, your tangent's going to be 1/5. So if it says find the exact value, that means you do not want to put decimals for this problem. You want to actually use the exact values, which should involve fractions and square roots.